Welcome to the podcast. I'm Angela Bobier, and this is Life in the Talbot Settlement, brought to you by Turconnell Heritage Society and Backus-Page House Museum. In this series, we will do our best to give you a full appreciation of the history of Western Elgin County in southwestern Ontario, from First Nations through the original European settlers to the 1950s. I'll cover one topic per episode, with the first 8 setting the tone for who we are, where we are, and what we do here at Backus-Page House Museum. Please follow us on all social media by searching at Backus-Page House, spelt BACKUSPAGEHOUSE. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. We've been receiving lots of questions from the last 7 episodes through email and social media, so today I'll be answering all of them. If you have questions about life in the Talbot settlement, please leave us a comment or send an email to angela@bacchuspagehouse.ca. Thank you in advance. Question 1 asked me to discuss where some of our road names have come from. This could be a series by itself, but I'll talk about 4 of the roads in our area. In Aldeburgh, now called West Elgin, there is Kerr Road. In 1850, Kerr and Furnival were the only 2 roads going north and south, but they only went from the Talbot Road to what is now Marsh Line, and not all the way to the Thames River as they do now. Kerr Road was named after early settler John Kerr, who arrived in 1818 from Argyllshire, Scotland. Graham Road, presently running from the lake to the Thames River through Eagle and West Lorne, was named after Hugh Graham, who settled in 1818 odd lot 19. Hugh had served in the Royal Navy with Lord Nelson and taken part in the Battle of Copenhagen. In Dunwich, there's Coyne Road and Curry Road. Coyne Road was named for Henry Coyne, who settled at the corner of Coyne and Talbot in 1824. Henry farmed and operated an inn. If you stop by this corner, the Municipal Heritage Committee has put up a Coyne's Corners interpretive sign. Curry Road is named after Donald Curry and his father John, who emigrated from North Knapdale, Scotland, in 1819. Donald is interred at Black Cemetery. More details can be found in the Early History of Dunwich Township, released in 2004 by the West Elgin Genealogical and Historical Committee and available in our museum gift shop or for purchase online. Question 2 was more open-ended. A listener asked if we could share more information about the town of Turconnell. A brother of Colonel Talbot named it Turconnell, with Port Turconnell at the foot of Erie Street. The name Turconnell took hold when James Blackwood purchased the land and had it surveyed into lots and streets in 1852. Mr. Buller and Haynes built a gristmill on the lower section of No. 9 Creek in 1817, while Mr. Colby erected a sawmill on the upper portion of the creek in 1820. Absalom Shade built a warehouse near the lower mill and turned a portion of it into a general store. And Mr. Hewitt built an ashery in 1825. The following year, Archibald McIntyre erected a distillery just below the sawmill. Colonel George Henry purchased Colby's and the Buller and Haynes mills and then put up a carding mill, while his brother Philip purchased the tannery that was founded by Joseph Fox. Later, Samuel Ladd, who owned a tannery, opened a shoe and boot factory. The next general store was established and opened by Anthony Kahn, south of Colonel Henry's gristmill, in 1830. Blackwood, who I mentioned earlier, opened a 6-story wool mill erected on Mill Creek, but it burned down in 1851. James would later build a massive home, but he lost it later, opened a warehouse in 1856, and shipped grain out of the port of Turconnell. John D. Pierce set up the first cheese factory in the district in 1865. The town had 2 hotels, one Turconnell House, operated by William S. Froome, and the other Globe Hotel, operated by Elias Hawkins. In 1870, a telegraph line was connected to Turconnell. There was also a pier in the port. Meredith Conn Jr. supervised as the Dunwich Pier Company was founded, with the pier constructed in 1861. Directors were John McKillop, Meredith Conn, John Pierce, Peter Gow, and James Blackwood. The pier was 500 feet long, 30 feet wide, and built out into the lake. This pier was the means by which Turconnell became an important shipping port until the pier fell into decay and was closed in 1890. The coming of the railroad spelled doom to this port. Trade was diverted to other ports such as Port Stanley and Port Burwell that were serviced by a railroad. All that remain are the concrete pylons of the old iron bridge.
Support your local museum by donating today. To meet the Turconnell Heritage Society's mandate, Backus-Page House Museum raises approximately 50% of its annual funding. Donations are greatly appreciated and may be made through canadahelps.org or by check payable to Turconnell Heritage Society, Box 26, Wallacestown, Ontario, NOL 2MO.
Question 3, which I found interesting, was how did the settlers predict the weather? I looked up a book called From Historic Communities, Customs and Traditions by Bobby Cowman. And there were signs that the settlers used to see if it was going to be sunny. You might have heavy dew after a fair day, a red sky during sunset, fog or mist on your fields, or the wind slowly changed direction. And then you could be sure, maybe, that it would be sunny the next day. Now, signs that it was going to be rainy. The dog was eating grass. The cats washed their ears with their paw. Crows flew across the sky alone. The leaves of the trees turned upside down. Fish swam together. Ants march in a line. There's a red sky during sunrise. Or the sky around the sun was hazy. 2 more. A large halo was around the moon. Or the stars had an extra twinkle. I'm not sure if any of these would actually work. I have to say, I prefer the Weather Network, the app on my phone, or Julie Atkinson from CTV News London. One of our listeners heard that we now have 2 beds from Colonel Thomas Talbot. They wanted to know more. The Carr family purchased the Talbot estate on Fingal Line, and inside were many of Colonel Talbot's possessions. When the family sold Malahide House, they took those historic items with them. We now have Colonel Talbot's bed, which we date back to 1803 to 1810. It's very simply built. The other bed we have, with a matching chest of drawers, is more ornate, and the story is that Talbot had these made by a carpenter in either Fingal or Middlemarch when the Anglican bishop of the Diocese of Quebec visited. St. Peter's Anglican Church was part of the Diocese of Quebec at the time, and Reverend Charles J. Stewart had visited before at least 2 times. Due to his new rank of bishop, we suppose that Talbot wanted a better bed and dresser for him to use. You can see all 3 items when you tour Backus-Page House Museum and our new Talbot room on the 2nd floor. Question 5. Are the 2 Backus historic places related somehow? Now, Backus-Page House Museum, where we are, operated by Turconnell Heritage Society, is us. We are not related to Port Rowan's Backhouse Mill in Backhouse Heritage and Conservation Center and Bacchus Woods, also known as the Bacchus Historic Site. The families are not related as far as we can tell by current genealogical research. We both normally host an annual War of 1812 reenactment, and with similar names, both being located inside a park and a conservation area, we do get confused often for each other. Remember, we're Backus-Page with a house, a barn, a new agricultural center, and gardens, and we're located south of Wallacestown in the west end of Elgin County. The other Backus, Backhouse, is in Norfolk County, near Port Rowan and Long Point, and they have the mill, houses, and a village. I encourage you to visit both of us. The final question is, what is the bee or honey house for, and where did it come from? If you visited, between our parking lot and the museum is a smaller building. Settlers attracted bees to the bee house by dropping honey on hot stones around the building. Inside were large empty boxes, and wild bees from the woods flew to the bee house and produced honey in the boxes. Knives were used to cut the honey from the boxes. Our honey house is a replica built by students at Parkside Collegiate Institute in St. Thomas between 1879 and 1984. The original honey house was built on the William Pierce farm at Wallacestown by a traveling carpenter about 1828 to 1831, possibly named Samuel Hawkridge of Yarmouth Centre. It's a gem, with Gothic pointed doorway and windows for the bees to enter and exit, and carved fretwork beneath the eaves. Originally, the roof had split shingles in a pattern, and all was made of unpainted pine. Stuart Pierce willed the building to the Elgin County Pioneer Museum in 1967, and it was moved to 32 Talbot Street in St. Thomas in January of 1968. 10 years after, vandals burned the honey house to the ground. Mr. Thomas and Mr. Hatherell at Parkside instructed students to draw blueprints from photographs and then rebuild using weathered boards. The Elgin County Pioneer Museum held a bee social in June 1984 to welcome back the building. The Moorhouse family, relatives of the Pierce family, donated a sign in 1998. The honey house replica was brought to Backus-Page House Museum in December 2006, along with the blueprints, and the Pioneer Museum moved to Sunset Drive and is now the Elgin County Museum. A book about the honey house is available in our gift shop, thanks to Mary Clutterbuck. We are taking a week off and then coming back with 12 brand new episodes, beginning with a two-parter about how the War of 1812 affected our Talbot settlers. Please share the podcast with your friends and follow us on all social media platforms at Backus-Page House. The Backus-Page House Museum and Turconnell Heritage Society acknowledges the land we are on today as the traditional territory of First Nations people, the Attawandaron, and the Iroquois. As settlers at a settler-focused museum, we value both the significant historical and contemporary contributions of all Original peoples and ask how we can be supportive in Indigenous cultural renewal. Life in the Talbot Settlement is a production of Turconnell Heritage Society, operators of Backus-Page House Museum, funded by the Department of Canadian Heritage. Your host has been Angela Bobier. Music provided by Jack Witmer. Thanks to our producer, Katlyn Reintsma. To make a charitable donation and to contact the Backus-Page House Museum, visit our website www.backuspagehouse.ca. And thank you for listening.